All right, I'm Peggy McColl, and I'm here with Bob Proctor, and we're going to give you some guidance on goals. I had asked Bob if he'd be willing to share with me some of his insights on goals, and that is the purpose of this event. I want you to listen up, and I want you to listen very closely and get ready to take some notes, because you're going to be hearing from the master himself. There isn't a man on this planet who knows more about goal achievement than Mr. Bob Proctor. He's been called the prosperity mentor, the greatest success coach on the planet. And I absolutely believe he is. He has taught me more in the 40 plus years than anyone ever, including all the great authors that I've studied. So we're in for a real treat. So thank you, Bob, for your time, for being so generous with your knowledge and sharing your ideas around goal achievement as well. Are you ready?
I'm all ready, Peggy. And what I want to do, first of all, not everyone that works with our company, clients of ours at PGI, even know you're doing this. And I'm not the only one that's on this program. What does it run for, 4 hours, Peggy?
Yes, 4 hours.
I said, listen, you got to let everyone in our company know that you're doing this. This is far too important to miss. It's the first of the year. It's the time to start something. Lay down a path for yourself and get going. You know, I have a goal card here. I carry it with me all the time. Let me read you what's on the back of it. This great dream, this surging, dynamic thing, invisible to all the world, except to the person who holds it, is responsible for every great advance of humankind. Earl Nightingale wrote that. He had it on the back of gold cards at Nightingale Conant when I worked there. I've used it over and over and over again because it's so perfect. Listen, I started out, I had absolutely nothing. I was earning $4,000 a year and I owed $6,000. By sitting down with people that have really made it happen over the years, and then do exactly what they tell you, you're going to win. That's exactly what I did. You see, I was earning over $1 million a year in less than 5 years after I started to do what some of these people were telling me. And then I couldn't figure out what happened. And I thought, you know, when I was a kid, I was told, if you're going to earn a lot of money, you're going to be really lucky. Somebody else would tell me, if you're going to earn a lot of money, you got to be really smart. Well, I didn't believe in luck, and I didn't believe I was smart, but I was earning a lot of money. And of course, it's gone up since then. I've earned millions of dollars. I sat down and I wrote on a goal card in 1973. This is about 12 years after I had started out, that I was going to build a company that operates all over the world. Well, you know, I've built a studio. It's virtually like a TV studio in my own backyard. And one day here in this past March, we were broadcasting, and Mikey called me and she said, Bob, I think you'd like to know we are in every country in the world right now. We had 93,000 people on our call. Now, this doesn't happen by accident. It happens because you decide it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. You set the goal. You do what the people tell you that are really making it happen. Peggy has probably dealt with more successful people than anybody in this industry. She's written more books on it. She's helped more people go to the top of the New York Times list. This is the start of year 2022. You can have access to some really brilliant people. And some of them aren't so brilliant like myself, have followed patterns that other people taught us. And so we just keep going ahead. Mm-hmm. You want to sign up for this? Hit the button and say, I'm going to be there. Now, this program was run over the past weekend. It's something Peggy does every New Year's. And I said, I don't think all our people are on this, Peggy. So I said, get a hold of Brian, that's my son who looks after this, and make sure we get a mailing out there so that everybody can know this is happening. You see, I truly believe if you listen to what's being taught, because it's all about goals, it's how to set the goal, it's how to reach the goal, you're going to make a wise decision and you're going to do it. Register for this, get into it, and don't turn your phone off. Tell everybody in the house to leave you alone and just lock in to what's being taught. You'll be glad you did. And if you meet me in a seminar someday, and this has really impacted you, I want you to come and tell me. I was having dinner last night with Linda in the show here at the Bellagio. And just towards the end of our dinner, a woman would come over and says, hi, Bob. I looked at her. She said, Ricky.
Oh, Ricky, yeah.
And then a few minutes later, Mark will come over. And then it all fell in place. He says, that's Marco and Ricky. Damn. I was saying, so anyway, I'm back to see them. They had a dream of starting the Puppy Academy.
Yeah.
Puppy Academy. It's one of the most successful businesses in California.
That's true.
She had a dream.
Mm-hmm.
She really had a dream. Neat couple.
They are. They really are. Well,
you're very fortunate. You're very fortunate you got a mailing to come on this. You really are, because this is so good. And it's at the start of a year. You can make this year the best year that you've ever had in your life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I want to thank you, Peggy, for shooting a short commercial that was my idea. I said, listen, just turn the camera on. I want to talk to him. Man.
Let's do it.
Do exactly what I'm telling you. You could be earning millions at the end of this year. It happens that fast if you follow the right rules. Do you agree, Peg?
Absolutely agree, 100%. Yeah, that's great, Bob. All right, well, thank you for that. All right, let's go straight into the interview. How about if we do that? Because we can cut the video there. That was great. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Okay, I want to talk about in your seminars, and I remember this like right from 40 years ago, you talk about 3 types of goals: A goals, B goals, C goals. Can you just do a quick summary of what's the difference between an A goal, a B goal, and a C goal?
A goals are the most common goals, and almost everybody sets them. You set a goal to do something you already know how to do. This started out when a young guy came up and asked me if I'd help him with his goal, and I said, sure, what's your goal? He said, I want to get a new car. He said, okay. I said, what kind of a car? He said, a Pontiac. You know, that was a while ago because they quit making them. Anyway, I said, well, what are you driving now? And he said, a Pontiac. I said, how long have you been driving? And he said, 4 years. I thought, here's another one. You see, I said, how long have you had this other car? He said, I got it new. He has known for 4 years how to get a new Pontiac, and he's setting a goal to get a new Pontiac. Now, that doesn't mean he shouldn't get a new Pontiac. That wouldn't constitute a goal. Goals are for growth. Goals are for drawing the best out of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
An A goal is a dumb goal. It's a dumb goal because you're doing something you already know how to do. There's no growth. A B goal is doing something you think you can do. This is where you think and you think, yeah, I can do that, so you write it down. That doesn't constitute a goal. You can already see how you can do it in your mind. That's not a good goal. Now, a C goal is a dream. It's something that's way out there. It's like when I sat in my den, it was a little den in a house on Maplewood Lane in Glenview, Illinois. I was living there and I just left the Nightingale Corporation. I had been there for 5 years. I was their vice president of sales at the time. And I sat down and I thought, what am I going to do? I said, I'm going to build a company that teaches this material all over the world. I had no idea. I said in every country. I didn't even know how many countries there were. I do today. There's 180 some countries. Now we were in over 200. How did that happen? Well, there's countries like, they say Guam is not a country, but we'll put it down as a country, but it's not a country. Well, there's a number of places like Guam. See, I had absolutely no idea how we do this. I didn't have that much money. I had a bit, but some people say it was a lot. I didn't think it was very much. And so I thought we're going to do it. I had no idea how to do it. And it took me from 1973 to 2001.
Wow. 2021?
2021, pardon me, because it was just last March. Good call, Peggy. That's a C-type goal. You've got to go after something you have no idea how you're going to get, but you really want it.
Now, did you set a date for when you would have
Yes,
this?
absolutely I did. And I had to keep adjusting that over and over and over again. Because you see, if you don't set a date, Northcote Parkinson said, work expands to fill the time allotted for it. So if you give yourself a long time, it's going to take a long time. Give yourself a short time, it'll take a short time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we were teaching this one time in a seminar, and a woman held up her hand and she said, you know, I've seen our house cleaned up between the time we hear a door on a car close and our front doorbell ring. And I thought, yeah, I probably have too. Well, the C-type goal is what you want. You want a goal that you don't know how to get, but you really want it. That's it.
And the biggest benefit is not getting the goal or achieving the goal, it's the growth.
Well, that is the benefit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I look at how my life has grown from the time I set it in 1973 until just this year, there's so many stories I could tell you. Interesting stories, sad stories, exciting stories, all over the place. But there were stories that were essential for me to keep growing. And that's what a goal is really for. A goal is for you to develop your own level of consciousness.
Perfect. Now that goal that you had back in 1973, did you write that down on a goal card, keep that with you? But you've had other goals since. So
I got one right there.
Okay, so it's not like you lost sight of that goal that you wrote in 1973. You set other goals as well. So how does that work? Can you have more than one goal, multiple goals?
You can. This thing was so far-fetched that I knew I'd lose sight of it if that's where I was going. So I made up my mind I was going to do that. And then I would set these intermediate goals. The ones that actually took me there. Mm. I've got one written on this card. Mm-hmm. I only share it. I do share it with people. Some people tell you, Genevieve B. Rand says, don't tell your goal to anyone. I don't agree with that. I just don't agree with that. Like I would share my goal with you because I know you're going to support me and help me. Exactly. I think you will. I know damn well you will because I've known you for about 100 years. But a lot of people, they would put bad words out of it. Here, Proctor's going to do this. Here, Proctor's going to do that. So you're better just to keep your goal to yourself and get going.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know the answer to this question, but for the sake of our listeners, a lot of people give up. They give up on their goal. They're not seeing any kind of progress. They're not seeing anything result, and they're not following the guidelines for goal achievement. Now, what do you personally do to stay connected to your goal, to stay aligned with your goal?
I help other people.
Mm.
I stay in touch with you and a number of other people, but not a lot of people. Maybe 15, 20 that I would have close contact with. I don't just mix with a whole lot of people that want to say they're in the success business. I don't do that. I don't think it's beneficial. I mix with people that I know are serious goal setters. They're serious goal achievers. They know what they're doing, and they do it. They're damn good at it,
Yeah, they're stretching themselves. There's so much more fun to be around. I have a lot of people asking, like, what happens if you grab a hold of a goal? Maybe you're in a relationship, you're married, and you're passionate about your goal, but your partner isn't. How do you deal with that? I like that. I like that question because I'm in a situation where my husband is is the logical left brain kind of thinker.
Well, I don't let anything distract me. That would include a relationship. I just do not let it distract me. I don't care if they're negative. If that's what they want to be, that's what they can be. They can go down that road. I don't go there. I don't criticize them for not going there. I don't think they're wrong. I just think they're on a different track than I'm on.
Yeah.
And I don't let it sway me. I don't let it bother me. I stay where I am and I keep moving in that direction. That's
awesome. Was it Aldous Huxley who said there's only one corner of the universe that you have any control over, and that's your mind?
That's yourself. Yeah. That's your own self. Well, I watch people all the time. Of course, I'm in the business, so I'm surrounded by people and all the time who are permitting other people's paradigms to control them.
Right.
Now, a paradigm is a program in your subconscious mind that controls your behavior. People that are growing do not let their own paradigm control them. They do it to some degree, but they're working at changing that all the time. But they're permitting other people's programming to control their life. That is insane. Why do they do it? They do it because they don't think.
Yeah. Absolutely. I remember the very first time I met you, and it was January. Now, I believe it was 1979. It might have been January 80, but either way, it was January. And I was sitting in the front row, not because I wanted to be in the front row, nothing against you, but I was told to go sit in the front row because it was the only seat left in the house. I was going to sit in the back and look for my first opportunity to escape. But fortunately, I found myself in the front row, and you came on stage. And everything you were saying, it's almost as if you were speaking Chinese, because it didn't make sense to me. And I remember sitting there with my mouth hanging open going, whoa, like I'm in control of what I think. If I want my life to change, I must change. I can achieve anything. There's more power in my hand than there is in the, and all these. I remember being completely blown away. But the point I want to get at is my paradigms were all messed up. They were all messed up.
Hey, let me stop you for a moment.
Okay.
I think you've got to add in here, and maybe you will. I think you're about 19, maybe 18. You didn't know that the war was over, for God's sake. You had never studied anything.
True.
And I quoted Vernon Howard.
Yes.
I said, you cannot escape from a prison if you don't know you're in one.
That's
I
it.
remember that meeting. God, that had to be, how long, 50 years? It's a long time ago.
Yeah, over 40 years ago. Yes.
I was living in Atlanta and I was asked by a company to speak for them in Ottawa. I was actually quitting the business at the time.
Yeah, I was thinking about that actually.
I wasn't going to go and speak for anybody. Anyway, this guy phoned me 3 or 4 times. So finally I said, okay, I mean, he wasn't going to give up. So I said, okay. So I flew up to Ottawa and did it. And I did a lot of work for them after that. They were good guys. That's where your whole life shifted.
It did.
Now, I could say maybe that's why I was supposed to go there.
Yep.
And look at the work you've done since. Thousands of lives have been changed. You could go millions of lives, take the books in.
Right, right. And the people that I've worked with, you know, the many people that I've worked with. So
there's a hidden point here. I was living in Atlanta and I was literally quitting the business. I was not going to go and do anything or speak at anything. And these guys kept asking me to come and speak there. So finally I did. We never know why we're doing what we're doing. We think we know why, but we never really know. Maybe I was supposed to go there because there was a young girl named Peggy McColl who really needed to hear what I was teaching. And my God, your life changed so much. I mean, it changed so. You and I are duplicates. I mean, both our lives changed like night and day.
It really did. It really did. And every area of my life has changed.
And mine too.
Yeah, which is such a blessing. You know, I think about, you know, the experience that I had from becoming aware of this information, this knowledge. And there's a difference though between studying and understanding it and actually implementing it.
You know, I have a book holder on my desk. And it's there because in 1966, I visited Earl Nightingale in Chicago for an hour. And he had this book holder on his desk. It's a thing that holds a book open. And I asked him, I said, Earl, what is that? And he said, it's a book holder. And I said, well, why are you using it? Well, he said, I want to study what's on these pages. And there's 2 springs holding the book open. I said, but to change the page, you got to take those springs off. He said, I don't want to change the page. I just want to read that page until I see that I'm doing what I'm reading on that page.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
God, that was the greatest lesson I ever learned.
That was a powerful lesson. You know, the greatest lesson I ever learned from you, if someone asked me, what's the greatest lesson you ever learned from Bob Proctor? I would say it's, you know, set a goal you have no earthly idea how you're going to accomplish, but you're very inspired by it. And that you don't have to know how. You don't have to know how. Like, you just don't have to know how. You just have to decide you're going to get it.
You know, if you do know how, it's probably not as good.
Now, what would you say to someone who wants to, they want their goal, they want it now, they want to accelerate the process? Like, there's this gestation period that is the period of time that must elapse before all things will manifest into physical form. And it's a law. It's a law of the universe. But a lot of people want to do whatever they can to accelerate. And it's not necessarily an acceleration. It's more about an alignment thing. What would you suggest to them?
Well, there's times, Peggy, when I feel I'm one of the most fortunate guys on the planet. Because I went up to a guy spoke to me it was in October 1961. And he said, if you do exactly what I tell you, you can have anything you want. And he gave me a Think and Grow Rich book. And he said, read this every day. I'm on the road. There's the book. I had held together by an elastic because it's falling apart.
Amazing.
I read this every day. I may only read it for a minute. I might sit and read a whole paragraph. You see, Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, is probably one of the greatest things ever written. But start reading anything on success, but read it every day. Now, he said, do exactly what I tell you. That's one of the rules. Go to a person who has demonstrated by results that they really know what they're talking about, and do exactly what they tell you. Most people think they're smart enough, they don't need to go to anybody. When I say most people, you'll say that's an exaggeration. No, it's not. There's only about 5% of the population know where they're going. 90-some percent, no goals, no direction. Some of them are pretty smart too, but they're not very wise. And I learned then to go to somebody who knows what they're doing and do exactly what they tell you.
Yeah.
And I started to do that. Now, whoa, I almost did it unconsciously. And I went from one person to another, and I always a very successful person that I was going to, and I do exactly what they tell me. And if you do that, I had Peggy McColl, Sandy Gallagher joined our company as a partner in the company about 15 years ago. I'm millions of dollars richer than I was then because I do what she tells me. She's a very smart woman. You've got to align yourself with people that really know how to do what you want to do, and then do exactly what they say. You'll probably disagree with it. The hell, if you were agreeing with it, you would already have the money.
Right.
People disagree. We don't like to do things that are different. The paradigm is holding us back all the time.
Right. I remember a story that you shared in Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life, about when you were earning, I don't know what you were earning at the time. It was the early 70s, but you had a goal and you went to the president of the company and you said, I want to find out how I can earn $100,000. And the president said, like, it's not going to happen. And you realize you didn't want to be part of that organization, but that was his paradigm. Yep. His paradigm was that you couldn't. Right?
Exactly right. See, that's what I was saying earlier. You cannot permit other people's paradigm to control your life. And that's what a lot of people are doing.
They are.
We're at the beginning of 2022. You could set this up as a year that you will never forget. It's like I say, October the 21st, 1961. Look at this book is falling apart.
Falling apart, yeah.
I read it every day. There's a cute story about this book. I always tell people, if you won't sell something, you should give it away.
That's right.
You don't own it, or don't you? Jack Canfield wanted me to auction this off and give the money to a charity. He said, we could probably get a few $1 million for this thing. I said, yeah, Jack, you probably could, but I'm not going to do it.
I'm not going to.
Why not? He said, why not? Well, because I said, I read this, I want this, I read it every day. He says, you don't own the book, Bob. The book owns you.
Mhm.
So, you know something, you're right, but I'm going to leave it that way.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah.
I love that. All right. Well, let's wrap up with one last question here, because I know how valuable your time is, and I really appreciate you for being here. You know, when I think about the concept of earning money, and money is, it's a goal. It's a very, you know, viable goal. You know, sometimes people think, could money be a goal? Sometimes they think it's greedy. But I've heard you say that the person who is, actually, no, here's what I want to ask you. I want to ask you about the quote by Napoleon Hill. There's a quote by Napoleon Hill that says this: remember, no more effort is required to aim high in life, to demand prosperity and abundance, than it is to accept misery and poverty. So let's expand on that a little bit, because you talk about take your annual income, make it your monthly income. But you could take your annual income and make it your daily income, because there's no more effort required, right? It's the same. It's the same process. Why does someone not do that?
Ignorance.
Ignorance.
Ignorance. Let me read you something. First of all, Peg, money is a great goal. It is a great goal. And it's a great goal because you can measure it right to the penny.
Right.
And that's a very important point. Some goals, you've got no way of measuring them. And so you lose track. But I want to read you something. Here it is. Listen very carefully to this. It's called the effortless way.
Mm.
The principle of least action governs everything in physics, from the path of planets to the path of a pulse of light. Least action is the minimum of energy multiplied by the minimum of time. Therefore, in moving from your present state to the state desired, you must use the minimum of energy and the minimum, the shortest possible time. Your journey from one state of consciousness to another is a psychological one. So to make the journey, you must employ the psychological equivalent of least action. And the psychological equivalent of least action is mere assumption.
Love it.
The day you fully realize the power of assumption, you'll discover that it works in complete conformity with this principle. It works by means of attention minus effort. Thus, with this least action, through an assumption, you hurry without haste. You reach your goal without effort. Because creation is finished. What you desire already exists.
So good.
Now, I'm thinking maybe after I started to read that, I took this off track, and maybe I have, so maybe you should delete that.
No, I like it. That is so good, though. That is so powerful. You mentioned the power of assumption. I just had chill bumps, you know, go through me.
Well, you
know,
see, if you just assume it,
yeah,
and you've got the ability to do that, and we have done that, we've done it together on programs.
right.
You just assume that you're good enough to do that.
Mm.
Quit letting the old paradigms control you. Bob Proctor is good enough to earn millions of dollars and teach others how to earn millions of dollars. And so I'm doing it. I'm not the smartest guy in town. In fact, a lot of people tell you I'm not very smart at all. And they may be right. But if I set a target, and I've got one right here, and I assume that it's already done, that's the way it works.
Exactly.
Now, this may sound crazy, but when you consider only 5 people out of 100 are really making it happen, they must be the crazy ones.
But everybody can do it. It doesn't matter who you are. Anybody and everybody.
And you and I have seen all kinds of people really make things happen in a big way.
Absolutely. And there's countless stories of them. It's like when I used to take the mirror to the seminars and have people take the mirror, hold it to their mouth and do the test. Yeah, you want to find out if you're destined to be wealthy? Go like this. If you fog the mirror, you're destined to be wealthy. Well, everybody can fog the mirror, but there's people in the audience that are going, I didn't fog the mirror because
Why is that not working? That's not going to help me earn any money. They say they don't get it. They're not awake.
yeah, their paradigms are blocking them. Well, I love that you wake people up. I love that you wake me up. I love that, you know, the study makes a difference. I love that you're still so heavily involved in this and that here you are. I mean, you're on a vacation and I asked you to do this and you're like, yes. I mean, that's extraordinary. And you mentioned earlier about how valuable it is to help another and be generous, be giving. And that really is who you are. And that, you know, as a model for me, your generosity is extraordinary. I think a lot of people can learn a huge amount just from that alone, from observing that, from being generous, from, you know, finding a way to help another, lift another up, because when you do, it automatically helps you.
If you want to get something, start giving it away.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is.
So good.
And understand this. You're not going to take it with you. No one takes it with them.
That's
Give it
true.
away, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you want to really think of what you're doing, and you'll start to get such a good feeling out of giving it away. Now, do I say give everything away and have nothing? No, I don't say that at all. I keep a lot of money because I have it costs me a lot to live the way I live.
Right.
I live on a pretty high level, but that doesn't mean that I don't still have more than that I can give away. And we give, you know, a lot of money away.
Yeah.
And it's, it makes me feel really good.
That's good. And you learned that from your mom, like when you were a child, right?
You know, there's
Great model.
a good story that you're probably referring to because I tell it often. This would be around 1944. The Second World War was still roaring. And there was very few fathers around. Almost all the fathers were fighting the war. Mine was. And one of the kids in school, he was crying one day and they were asking what it was. The house was cold. It was a particularly cold winter. And his mother had no coal to heat the house. We heated the house with a coal furnace. And not a very nice way to heat a house, but that's the way we did it. And I went home and I told Mom that about the kids in school. They're over in the next street. I won't mention their name, but they lived on Willow Avenue. We lived on Silver Birch, which is the next street. And I told her they didn't have any money to buy coal. And she went away and she came back and she had a $20 bill all folded up. Now, my mother didn't have much money. I mean, we were poor. And she told me, go to the corner and get this made into 2 tens. And she came back and she gave me a 10. And she said, take this over and tell their mother to buy a ton of coal.
Wow.
That stuck in my mind. She took half of everything she owned at the time and bought a ton of coal for a woman who needed to heat the house.
Amazing.
Well, that stuck in my mind. Years later, talking to Cynthia Kersey, and we're talking about wealth and giving. That story come back and certainly helped all of us a lot. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's beautiful. It's such a beautiful story. And, you know, regardless of the times, you know, what's going on, you know, there's some people that their businesses have changed because of what's happening in the world right now. And I, you know, I firmly believe there's always a way to earn money. It's about, you know, being of service. But be generous, you know, be generous with your knowledge, be generous with your time, be generous with what you have. And when you are, you're going to find that your life will be rewarded. It's not why you do it, but it definitely does provide the returns.
You know, just a little while ago, I realized that generosity is a cause and joy is the effect.
Nice.
And it really is. It's just something that comes to my mind.
Yeah,
You give it away to experience joy. And you can't give too much. It's that should be part of who we are. That is a part of our success strategy.
totally agree. And you also used to say generosity is the first law of prosperity.
Oh, it definitely is. The more generous you are, the wealthier you're going to be.
Yeah.
There's no trick to it. It's rather a simple game that we're playing, and you don't have to be very bright. All you have to do is go back and take a look at some of the wealthiest men or women in the world, and they weren't very bright. They had a plan, they followed it, they stuck to it, and they made it happen.
Yeah, stuck to it. There we go. Determination is a very important part of it. You know, not a lot of people are willing to do that. Well, thank you so much, Bob. I really appreciate you. I love you. Happy New Year to you.
And to you, Peggy, and to Denny.
All right. Thanks so much. I really appreciate you doing this.
And listen, I want to suggest you put this up for maybe a month. People can come in and listen to it. Place it up there.
All right, I'll do that.
And we will tell them that it's there, because it's the start of a year. It's a beautiful time to make a decision. And I always figure, like, if Peggy McColl and Bob Proctor can do it, anybody can do it.
Totally agree. I'm with you on that. All right, we'll have a fun afternoon, evening in Vegas, and I'll see you soon.
Very good. Thanks, Peggy.
Okay, thanks, Bob.